Welcome to a random dirt parking lot in the middle of Tokyo, where I'm here to drive a car that looks like a turtle taking a dump. This is the Toyota Yaris Cross, which is one of those confusing crossover vehicles that I don't really like much, because what you're saying is, I want a small car, but a small car like a Yaris is too small, so I want a bigger car, and then you think, I don't actually want a Corolla because maybe that's too big, because that's a class up, but I also want an SUV at the same time, and then you say, I'm gonna go buy an SUV, and then you think, no, SUVs are too big, I want a smaller car, but I still don't want a compact car. And then you wind up with something like this, which, yeah. So as you can probably tell, I'm not the biggest fan of these mini SUVs or crossovers or whatever you want to call them, because I kind of find them a bit pointless, but I'm gonna put that aside for today, and I'll try and judge this as a crossover and ask a series of questions of, is it kind of worth it as a crossover to get? So one of the main arguments that people have for getting a crossover vehicle is ride height and ground clearance. Because a lot of people are saying, oh, I live on a dirt road or whatever, I appreciate some extra ride height and ground clearance. And, well, yeah, it is definitely higher up than a regular Yaris, but it's not really going to get you through mud holes and other things. So another reason why people kind of champion the crossover mini SUV is interior space. And you're like, oh, I have children, I want more space in the back for them to be comfortable. So let's take a look. The door opens wide-ish, and then, you know, if you need to get a baby seat in, it's maybe not the easiest thing to do. Inside, the driving seat is actually in my driving position, and we have some knee room, and it's actually not that spacious back here. It's very mildly better than a normal Yaris. And in terms of headroom, I guess it's a bit more spacious than a normal Yaris, but we're not talking much. For the size increase of this car, the interior space back here isn't impressive. Okay, it's actually pretty, like, I don't have big feet, but if you kind of swing out to get out, it doesn't really work. So the trunk of this car is the only place where you're actually getting a genuine advantage over a subcompact car. So I can get in here very easily and have loads of space. So compared to a regular size Yaris, the trunk is significantly bigger. So this is the one place you might actually argue, I got a crossover vehicle because it has significantly more trunk space. However, this car has the same problem as the Toyota Yaris, where you have this really flimsy floorboard. And I remember seeing somewhere that you can move this floorboard up and you get this nice flat load area, so that way when you fold down the seats it's nice and flat, but it's so flimsy. Here, let me yeah, clearly someone didn't think this one through. Okay, so the interior of the Toyota Yaris Cross is very familiar. Like, this looks exactly like the interior of a regular Yaris. And that's a good thing, because the quality of all the materials is actually quite nice. I mean, it doesn't look luxurious in any sense of the word. However, like, the plastics are mostly soft touch. You got like a little fabric lining here, and you know, everything just feels solid and Toyota quality. And if you compare it to a Toyota Yaris, this is a significant jump in interior quality materials. This car is on average about $1,000 to $2,000 more than the equivalent Yaris. And just the interior quality bump alone makes me wonder why people are buying the Toyota Rise instead of this. I mean, if that $1,000 is incredibly important to you, maybe you shouldn't be buying a new car. Um, so, yeah, just the interior quality of this is fantastic. And compared to a regular Yaris, it does feel a bit more spacious. But at the same time, considering this car is noticeably bigger on the outside, the inside's not exactly a summer home. All right, so we're setting off now in the Yaris Cross. This car doesn't have a manual handbrake like the normal Yaris. It has one of those e-parking brakes that I'm not a fan of. However, this one's actually nice because the second you put it into drive, it disengages the brake. And when you put it into park, it engages the brake automatically. Wow. Okay, on the road, finally in the Yaris Cross. And yeah, we're a bit higher up in driving position than a normal Yaris, and it's nice. It's like I'm not really a person who enjoys higher up driving positions, and you're not high up enough to really enjoy the benefits of SUV driving. I used to drive an old Land Rover Discovery, and that was high up, where you genuinely can see everything and survey the land. This, I just feel a bit higher up than a normal Yaris, so I'm not really sure that bit is worth it. So ignoring all the ride height issues and everything, what is this car like to drive? And it's actually quite nice. I'm quite surprised at how much I actually enjoy driving this car. I generally don't like these crossover SUV things because a lot of the time the driving dynamics are compromised and you're giving up a lot in terms of driving fun just to enjoy being a bit higher up off the ground. This doesn't seem to have that issue. It drives kind of like a normal car, but at the same time, that's kind of counterintuitive. It's like, okay, I just bought this crossover vehicle because it drives like a normal car. Why didn't I just get a normal car? But anyways, if you genuinely wanted a mini SUV, this is actually really good. I mean, the ride quality is quite nice. The interior noise levels aren't bad, and they're actually comparable to a normal Yaris. But it is actually noticeably better than a Toyota Rise. So that's something to consider if you're looking at this class of vehicle. I said in my review of the Rise, I didn't understand the point of this car, and now driving a Yaris Cross, I really don't understand why Toyota put the Rise into their lineup, because this is only mildly more expensive, and there's a lot about this car that's just easily worth the $1,000 or $2,000 price hike over a Toyota Rise. So one of the things about this car that's kind of interesting is the hybrid power plant. I think it's the same engine and everything as in the normal Yaris, and I thought like it would feel a bit slow in this car because it's heavier and bigger than a normal Yaris hybrid. But no, this car is surprisingly quick. I've kind of gently put my foot down a few times and went, oh, whoops, that's much higher than the speed limit. I actually genuinely did not mean to do that. And it has the same sort of smooth power delivery that the normal Yaris hybrid has, and it's really nice. So the next surprising thing about this car is the way it feels and handles. Just the steering feel is fantastic, especially for a crossover. And as we go through these twisty bends, it actually handles really well. And I'm shocked at how fun this car actually is to drive. Ooh, traffic. Uh-oh. But yeah, I just genuinely like how this car drives. But a normal Yaris is going to drive better because it is lower to the ground, etc. This car, as good as it handles for a crossover, you can still feel it's a little top heavy and it kind of rolls a bit more than you'd like it to. But for a crossover, this is actually really good fun, and I think more than anything, it speaks loads about Toyota's new global architecture that this is based upon, because every time I drive a car based on that new architecture, I just come away impressed. All right, conclusions about the Toyota Yaris Cross. As far as these mini SUVs go, I quite like this car. However, it drives exactly like a normal Yaris on stilts, and I'd just rather get a normal Yaris because it just dynamically is better. And you save about $3,000. However, if you just really want to be an extra 6 inches off the ground, and to some people, that 6 inches is very important. And if you happen to be one of those people and you want a bit more cargo capacity in the back, I mean, this is fine. And compared to a Toyota Rise, it's easily worth $1,000 or so more, because the driving dynamics, the interior quality, everything about this car is much better. However, if you're willing to spend a bit more money and you think I need more space than a Yaris, have you ever thought about buying a Corolla?